Okay, recording has begun. So welcome everybody. Today is forms part A of this week's sessions. Tomorrow is going to be part B because we've got a special guest coming in tomorrow, Darren Edwards from the Blended Delivery Support Team. So I'm going to record both sessions, but I'll just record Darren's part of the second session so that everybody in this session doesn't miss out. But we're going to be raising some issues that we'll be talking to Darren about tomorrow and asking his question. But the main aim of having him join in is for us to start to consolidate, to form those working relationships with him and to gain a greater understanding of our role in the support of Moodle in unison with his team, because it can be a little bit confusing. Okay, so we are up to week 3 of the program, which is implement. So time is flying. So week 3 is implement. Last week, the activities were to add some information into your sandpit overview tab. So I've been issuing sandpits. I apologise for those who I haven't got to yet. I had a time in lieu day yesterday and I've just hit the ground running this morning. So I will look at that this afternoon. So it doesn't matter, there's no due date for any of these things. I guess it's helpful to sort of run the same time as we're sort of delivering, but it's that sandpit is yours, so you can use it at your own leisure. So step 1, add information to the overview tab, add 2 resources to the lesson tab, add 2 activity types in the lesson tab. So that's 4 lots of things you need to add to the lesson tab, and then add an additional resource in resources tab. And then step 5 is to check and prepare settings and restrictions for one assessment event in the assessment tab. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll do a demonstration. I'll share my screen and just take you through a sandpit and very quickly go just reinforce how to turn editing on, where your editing buttons are, talk about things in the text editor and so forth. But before we do that, I just wanted to analyze this model again. So we are supporting this, we're talking about legacy Moodle courses. So this is a support model around the non-skills points products. And we've got your build, deliver, evaluate phase. So at the moment, we are, within this course, we're sort of transitioning from the build to the deliver. So last week, or during the week, we've been building, adding our activities. You may have invited somebody to have a little trial of your resource. You may not have. And then you're going to evaluate and do like a final check before you give access to some learners. So next week we're going to formally invite our colleagues to access our course and have a look and provide some feedback, just from a student's point of view. So when we do this, it's really good to go through the self-reflection of, okay, if I don't know what to do, where do I go for help? Because these are the same problems that our sections encounter. So I guess you would go straight to the Moodle capability program and have a look and see if there's any resources in there. Or if you're working in your own platform, you would look for the staff resources. And then, or if not, you would ring a go-to person, or you would submit a ServiceNow ticket. So the Blended Delivery Support team are quite busy, as we know, and so I occasionally get, or not occasionally, a lot, get requests to help teachers get over a certain part of the Moodle. However, I'm very mindful to Darren's team that I follow the correct protocols. If it's something that I can help them out of really quickly, I'll go in and have a quick look and go, yep, no worries, it was just this setting. So you're now going to be far more familiar with the settings after doing your skills points, your sandpit activities. So if we can, and I guess that's something that we need to clarify with Darren, because also the ticketing system, the service now, by creating tickets, we are justifying to the organisation that we do require a lot more support in this space. So I guess it's for everybody's interest to drive those tickets so that it can demonstrate that. And I guess we'll get some tips off Darren tomorrow as to what types of tickets. But however, for a teacher wanting to give a student access to a quiz and they can't find out what the password is, or they don't know how to create a group, or there's just one setting missing, it can be very frustrating and embarrassing to their students as well. Okay, so that's the support model. And the support required by skills teams, we've got the skills points products, the legacy Moodle support course enhancement, which is what we're talking about today, and also any new Moodle course unit request for non-skills points. So if you suggest to a section, hey, there's this template that it's all ready to go, which is the sandpit, they can actually request that. So if they request a blank Moodle template, you may be able to give them some guidance and some tips on how to turn editing on and edit bits and pieces. So throughout, I'm just sort of reinforcing and reiterating the model and what we're actually looking at. Okay, so I'll stop sharing my screen for a sec, and then I will start sharing my screen. Okay, I'm just taking you to a place in iTAFE. This is called the catalogue. Can everybody see my screen? I feel like I'm sharing. Sometimes I may not be.
I can see it, Leslie.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Deb. Okay, so this is a place in the catalogue called Sandpits, and you can see that through the breadcrumb up the top. It's in the course category called Delivery, then Delivery template category, and then in a section called Sandpits. Now, what I've done for easy access to this page, I've just created a link, and it's sitting up here in my favorites bar because I need to access this quite a lot. So you can see I've created quite a few, and I need to create some more. So if there's a spot in the catalogue that you go to, perhaps it might be your skills team, it would be a great idea to just bookmark that page. Okay, so I'm going to go to sandpit number 13. That's my lucky number. It's my daughter's birthday. She was born on Mother's Day. I'm going to turn editing on. Okay, so those who have a sandpit are familiar with this. Once I turn editing on, we've got all of our edit icons that are appearing. So the first activity was to upload or insert some information about the topic that you've chosen, the content that you've chosen, it might be a unit, in your sandpit. So to do that, we need to just put a general blurb on the front in this label, and you click on Edit Settings. And we can tell it's a label because we're now becoming familiar with our Moodle icons. Okay, and to edit, edit the label, we can grab the bottom right hand corner and drag it down. And there's not much information in this label, so we can edit it just here. However, if there was lots of information, we toggle full screen. So we need to use the top hamburger to maximize it, and then a second and third row of icons appear, and then we click on toggle full screen. I won't do that at the moment because I don't need to, but here is just some information that you need to add in. You can delete it when it's, I'll just delete it, and then you save and return, but I won't do that. You add in your information, whatever that might be. You can add an image in. So to add an image, you choose a file, and I might always add in the small files. You need to resize images. Anything over 400 pixels is quite large in this space, and it will slow down. It will slow down your learner's experience. So you can see now that that image actually has made my page larger. And one thing I forgot to do is I forgot to add alternative text here in the image description. So you can see that I have in the past used these descriptions. So I'm going to click on course image. Once you've done this a few times, you're going to start seeing your own your previous descriptions come up here. So image description is really important for a screen reader. It's accessible. And then if you want to resize your image, you can click on the tab Appearance, and you can click on 200. So I've halved it, and when I click out of this box, it automatically adjusts the proportions, and I'll update, and it's a little bit smaller. And I won't save that because, I will, I can fix it. Okay, so now I've got an image on my course page. If I turn editing off, there it is. So it's nice to have an image. I like that. And then just a bit of a description. So you need to populate the information in all of these labels, and you can add some information in important information. However, so the next task is to add 2 learner resources in lessons, and I've just added some just standard ones, so you can delete those, or you can go in and you can edit any of them. So this one's a Moodle book. So to edit a Moodle book, there's the Moodle book icon. Okay, so this is the actual shell of the book. We don't want to change anything here. What I can do is add a description. This book is for learning, or tips on learning. And I can click here, display description on course page, and save and return. And then there's some online tips for how to use the book. So you can even say, click on this book. This book contains chapters. Okay, so I need to make sure editing is turned on, and to edit the content within the book, I need to click on the book. I need to make sure editing is turned on first. And then I've got some chapters down here. Now with books, depending on your Moodle course as to how it's set up, so I've just added a test book, so it's just standard, not much customization. And when I did that, you'll notice that these administration blocks just appear. So we've got Studiosity. So that is a standardized block that has been issued through every single platform. And to move the blocks around, you need to click on the four-sided pointer, all right, and then just move that down. And then our table of contents is slowly creeping up. I don't know why the table of contents doesn't have a four-sided arrow, but I want the table of contents up the top, so I'm just going to move. This is all for your student experience, and I get a little bit fussy, so I like it like this. And of course your student's not going to have that big administration block as well. Okay, so you need to look for your table of contents block once you get into your book. Then you can, there's one chapter, you can add another chapter, and we'll call it Test 2, and your content goes here, and you'll notice that this is your standard text editor, so you can create a link by hovering over. Actually, I'll get this link. Hovering over the content and clicking on Add a Link and inserting the link, and you can request the link to open in a new window or to open in this window frame. If you leave it set at open in this window frame, the course will be closed and your students the page will be replaced with whatever link you put in there. So I always open in a new window so that the students get used to clicking back to the tabs and they don't lose their Moodle page. You can also select open in a pop-up, but that's got a whole heap of other settings. It's all about the student experience. So then you of course need to add a title. So click here to open. This is for alternate text for screen readers, and it's also when you hover over it, you can see it. So I've selected a pre-formatted text. Click here to open. That's a standard one that I use, and I'll click Save Changes. And now I've just added in another chapter, and the content is appearing here. So when I hover over the link, you can see the instruction to the student. Click here to open, and when I click it, there you go. There's our Moodle capability program. Okay, so your Moodle book, your file upload, a Moodle page, they're all learning resources. You can add instruction in there for activities, but your activities tend to be interactive Moodle functions. So if I click on Add an Activity or Resource, you can choose whether you want whatever you upload to be an activity or just a learning resource. So you can see here there's resources, book, click view video, file, folder, a label, link to a Quella, and also a page and a URL. And the activities, the interactivity, are the assignment, chat, choice, database, feedback's a good one, forum, and a quiz. They're sort of common ones. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about the Lessons tab and what you may like to put in there and how to organise that? Just please yell out if you want to have something to say or if you've got a question anyway through.
Leslie, when I just looked at that section you were looking at,
Yep.
it doesn't bring up the images, it only brings up the words for those. So you had little icons beside all of those activities and Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever they were called.
Yep.
And mine
Like
just has a
that.
list.
Okay.
Yes.
Can
Do I?
anybody can anybody
Yep.
in this room answer that question? Just checking. I presented a slide on this maybe 2 weeks ago, Deb.
I did miss the first
No,
session,
no,
so
that's
if
all
it was
right.
there, that would be right. Yeah.
Lots of content here. So what it was that you have your activity chooser off. So see in your administration block on the right hand side, if I
Yep.
click on activity chooser off, is that what you see?
Yes, that's
Oh,
exactly it.
good. Okay,
Beautiful. So I just need to change that.
that's right.
Thanks, Leslie.
That's okay. Um, so when you change things, like they're unique to you, so it's little things like that when you've got a teacher on the phone going, "What are you talking about? I can't see those icons." And then you go, "Oh," and unless you're sharing screens, you've got to get very good at listening to their description. Um, and sometimes it's impossible. You actually just need to get in the car and go to their office and see what they're seeing. Um, okay, so activity chooser back on, because that's how I like to look at it. And also, when you click on the activities, it gives you a description in the right hand side and also a link to moodle.org for more help. Okay. So when you turn the activity chooser off, it also separates the resource types and the activity types. So, yep, it's really user preference there. I put up a wiki as an activity just for something different. Oh, that's good, Karen. I haven't had much experience in wikis. I did participate in a Moodle wiki in a Moodle MOOC at the beginning. Oh, when was it? Only a few months ago or a month ago, and it was really good. So it's a collaboration space. It's good for anybody in the group to actually upload into that. So maybe you might want to run a wiki, Karen, and teach us how to do it. Okay, so in the resources tab, you the suggestion was to just add anything additional. So it's for the student. It's a nice to know. It's just additional reading. So if they want to do that unplanned study and that unstructured learning, here's some tips and ideas on what you would suggest for them. So I would find that really helpful. Anything that sort of sits in the lessons tab would be that structured self-paced or self-directed learning. Um, and then we have our assessment tab. Also, in the resources, you can add a description in here of how you would recommend to use the content that's sitting within that page. Okay, just reading the chat pod, I can see where a backup is done. It's manually. This is a manual activity or automatically done. Susan, depends on, that's a good question for the IT department. I know that ITAFE is backed up daily on a central server. However, it's really good practice to back up your course regularly and also back it up and you can restore it as new or clone it and retire the archive the old course. So it's really different. It varies in different regions, in different platforms. But one day we're going to have just one set of instructions and protocols to follow. How to restore, where's that option? It depends on your permissions as well, Susan, but that's how I back up a sandpit and then I restore it as a new course and give it a new name. That's how I clone. So that is just Moodle terminology, and if you go to moodle.org, there's so much information there. Okay, so in the assessment tab, the suggestion here was to check one assessment upload, check all the settings. So I'll just show you whereabouts that information is sitting in the Moodle capability program. Okay, it might be in sandpit instructions, it might be there. I made the sandpit instructions a book, actually. As you can see, there's chapters on the right hand side, and the second chapter is assessment upload event in sandpit. Okay, so go to assessment tab in your sandpit, click on assessment task 1, knowledge event. Number 3, check instructions are correct in the description. Let's just have a look at the description. So if I click on the assessment event here, okay, so here, that is the description. So that's already pre-populated, and that will be pre-populated when you get a template, and that is to standardize the instructions to the student. And these instructions are: to complete, you need to download the assessment task, follow the instructions from your teacher and assessor, foremost, on the format of your response needs to take. So it might be to upload a Word document, a photograph, a video. There's varying things that you might need to upload, or your teachers need the students to upload. You may be asked to do a PDF. Complete your work and submit for grading. When you have submitted your assessment, you'll be notified by email that your feedback has been given when your teacher has graded your work. You can access this feedback in the grade sections on the menu on the right hand side. And I'll show you that I've done that already for a previous activity in the capability program, so you can see what it looks like. And then there's a standard blurb. By commencing this assessment, I confirm that this assessment is my original work, sort of like a declaration. Okay, so I'll go back to the settings. So we'll check that we're happy with the description. Upload an assessment document of your own. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Apply the recommended settings below. Check that the restrictions have been applied. Okay, I'll explain that. So here are the recommended settings. When you create an upload activity, there are standardized settings. But if you're going to use the document upload for an assessment event, there are some critical settings that must be applied. And that is to be compliant via ASQA. So your selection is in the right-hand column. So where I've got use default settings, that would just be whatever it comes with. You need to use approved recommended instruction included in your current template. Additional files are optional. The availability, tick enable submissions, then choose the date from. So the date is optional. The cutoff date is optional. And remind me to grade by. This is optional, and it only applies to Moodle versions older than this one. So that wouldn't apply to your sandpit, which is good. It's great if you can click on a date to get a system-generated email to say, don't forget to, mark the assignments. I find I'm relying more and more on reminders each day. Submission types is default settings. Feedback types, you need to make sure that you tick feedback comments. That's really important, because in the event of an audit, you will be asked to extract data, and the feedback comments is critical. Tick feedback files, so you as a grader have the ability to upload a solution sheet, or you could upload an annotated version of the student's assessment. For example, you download the student submission and say it's in a Word document, you could add your comments in red text or blue text, or add a comment on the side of the document in the comment section. One thing to note here, iTAFE has had the PDF annotator disabled because it was not compatible with 3.1. It used to break down quite a lot and cause a lot of frustration with our teaching staff, so they've disabled that function within iTAFE. So the experience you'll have through your sandpit is you'll be able to upload a feedback file and just put a generalized comment in the feedback comments. So that's just one thing to note. Susan, yeah, they probably can be set up as default, but they're not in iTAFE and they're not in North Coast. So you could perhaps find out off your system administrator what the default settings are for your particular platform. In the feedback types, we've got comment inline is select no. Submission settings require the students to click a submit button is yes, and that is so that once they click submit, their assessment is locked. Because we don't want them to have the ability to take an assessment event down. This is capturing first attempt. If they have uploaded the wrong document by accident, the teachers have the ability to revert the submission to draft. When you revert the submission to draft, the student has the ability to take the file off and put another file on. So it's really important that we don't revert to draft to allow them to have another attempt, because what they're doing is they're taking their first attempt off and they're putting a better one up after they've had feedback off you, and you won't capture that in an audit. You need to make sure that you allow another attempt. So that's a really important setting. And also, you need to require that the students accept the submission statement. So this is their digital acknowledgement to say that it's their own work, and they accept the terms and conditions and so forth. So that is the standard TAFE New South Wales blurb. Attempts reopened, yes, but only manually. So you can reopen the attempts. Maximum attempts is set to unlimited. Now that seems a bit scary, but the students will not see this. They will only see this is attempt 1, this is attempt 2. If you select this is 1, or say they've got maximum of 2 attempts, they will then see 1 of 2 or 2 of 2. So they will clearly see they've only got 2 chances. It's recommended to select unlimited so that it just takes out any confusion. The grade is set to scale because in competency-based assessment, we don't grade. It's either competent or not competent, and the terms that we use are satisfactory or not satisfactory. So we need to select the type of grade to be a scale, and then we need to select the not satisfactory settings. So that is in line with compliance. Restrict access. You need to use this to restrict the ability for the student to upload a document until they have acknowledged the unit assessment guide. So you upload the unit assessment guide, you get them to accept the terms and conditions of participating in the learning and assessment of the unit, and then once they have done that, the document upload will open. So they cannot submit an assessment without going through that stage. So that's the beauty of conducting assessment in the learner management system, is that you have these gateways that force the student to be compliant before they can actually conduct their assessment. And the rest is just default. So you can actually have that page open and have this page open. If you've got two screens, you're lucky you can have a look side by side, or you can actually split your screen. Sometimes I do that. I think I click Control. No, it's the Start menu. Hold the Start menu and then the left arrow, and then I've got to find, I want that one. Okay, so you can have a look. No, I don't. I want that one. You can have a look at your settings by clicking on Edit Settings in your assessment. These blocks are actually covering this page, so I might just take that over a little bit. Okay, so you can edit the description here. You can add in your assessment document here. You can enable the due date here. Submission types. Submission types, it says here, use default settings. Okay, so that's fine. You can actually increase your the number of files that is required to be uploaded depending on the assessment type. It might be word processing, and they might need to upload five files to demonstrate they can do 5 different things in 5 different files. Feedback types, so it says tick feedback comments, yes, and tick feedback files, and comment inline is set to no, so that's good, and you can get rid of those as you like. Submission settings, require the students to submit, yes, yes, manually, and I have here 2 attempts, which I said before I usually use unlimited, so I'll change that. Grade, I'll check, okay, I've got my scale type is, my type of grade is scale, and the scale selection is not satisfactory, satisfactory. And you can see all of the other previous scales that have been used in this particular LMS. I've archived some that aren't in use. And then restrict access. I won't go into that just now, but I might do that individually with you all that have sandpits, because that it is a little bit confusing to get to that, and I don't want to give you too much information overload today. And save and return, and I'll maximize my screen. Okay, so here you can check that you're happy with your description and then go back to your assessment tab. Okay, on the assessment tab, you can see that there's another activity that I've uploaded here, and it's this little icon that looks like a speaker or a horn. That's actually called feedback activity in Moodle, and we use it to acknowledge your assessment outcome. So once the student has received the grade and the feedback, we use this mechanism to go in and get the student to provide that acknowledgement that they've received. Okay. So this is standard and it replicates the skills points products experience and intention. And you can see that the assessment task 1 is not available until you confirm your understanding of the unit assessment guide. So that's what the student will see. If I turn editing off, they will see all of these things come up. Once they've accepted the unit assessment guide here, that will disappear. Okay, so I will stop sharing and just go back to the PowerPoint presentation that I was showing a minute ago. And I just wanted to reinforce the types of things that we're going to need to have discussions with Darren about. Now, the skills point products, that we will need to have discussions around those, and we need to be trained on the use of those. And we've also got the system supports there. Okay, so for any support with Moodle, the standard process is to create a ServiceNow ticket, which I explained before. So Darren has emailed me and he has let me know the types of information that he needs in that ticket. So if that ticket contains well-constructed, detailed information, it will enable the team to service it much faster. So you need the course name and the URL of the course that you're having problem with. I know this seems simple, but 9 times out of 10, maybe 8 times out of 10, people that call me or ask me about or email me, they don't include the URL. They expect me to know which course they're talking about, but there may be, 5 different instances of that one course. So to have that, the code and the URL, you can go straight to the place that they're having issues with. If it's a student that is having problems logging in, we in North Region, we are super lucky that we've got a team of librarians that have been trained in iTAFE that we can actually contact them via a email distribution list and say, Joe Blow's having an issue getting into his account and he's at Hamilton and he needs to do an assessment. So you can imagine the stress and anxiety that student's having because they can't even log in. So if you send a request to that distribution list, and maybe I should put that distribution list in that Moodle capability program, but they can service just North Region and they can troubleshoot and help the student get in. They can remind the student what their username and reset their password. Other information that needs to go in the ticket is what's the detail of the issue that the person is experiencing. So they're logged in and they can't access what? Something is not working. Is it the group enrollment key? Is it a setting in the document upload? Maybe the restriction hasn't been applied correctly, or something, just whatever it is that they're experiencing. The more detail the blended delivery support team have, the better they will be able to service the request. And also they need to know who is involved. So the teacher that is requesting the access to the course and the groups, if you want to give a new teacher access, and also who is the head teacher, the approver. One thing I'm a little bit unclear on is what is the best way for Ed Quality as a support unit and team? How do we get in on this conversation and support our teaching staff so they feel like they're being supported and not just standing in a queue, which effectively, at the end of the day, they are standing in a queue. So if we can be assistants to actually listen to what their issues are, and we know the blended delivery support team, so we can even shoot an email on their behalf to whoever's looking after the platform, develop a relationship with them. And Elisa Cook is assigned to ITAFE, so I've started contacting her about different things. So yeah, that is what is yet to be determined, because it's all of these legacy Moodle courses that they have problems, and particularly if there was a course coordinator or a Moodle champion in the section and they've left TAFE or they've gone to another section, and all of a sudden somebody else has got to pick it up. And I've actually been getting phone calls from 2 sections recently because that very issue has occurred. So if that is the case, we need to flag this, and we need to determine between us and the blended delivery support team who can actually provide the support and the training for that course. They need to have a course health check, I'll call it. Okay, so just to reinforce, again, lots of reinforcements here. Our support lies in writing of instructions. So those instructions in those assessment events, the instructions in the labels of how to complete, how to use the learning resources, how to use the activities, all in that instruction. Our support also includes determining the types of activities to meet the structured learning that is stipulated in the volume of learning in the TAS. So it might be a forum, it might be a document upload, it might be a quiz, it might be just some research, it might be a database activity, which I haven't experienced much, but I think it's a good collaboration tool. And how to monitor progress in the system. What is a reasonable expectation of the teacher to monitor that progress outside of the classroom hours, and how to communicate that that monitoring process to the students? Because if the students uploading and conducting activity in their own time on the weekends or at night time, when should they expect a response? So if they know that your online office hours are only 1 hour a week on a Tuesday between 2 and 3, well then they're not going to expect anything outside of those hours. So it's all about making sure that they understand how to use the resource, conducting online assessment, marking and providing feedback. So timely feedback, and extracting that data. Okay, I pretty much have run out of time, so I thought I'd just open up the floor and start or offer anybody to have some input. Does anybody have any questions or would like to add any comment? Don't all speak at once. Okay, thank you, Phil. And thank you, everybody. I have recorded the session today, so we'll post it on the Moodle Capability Program, and I will record the part that Darren is speaking in the session tomorrow. So good luck with your sandpits and your Moodling and support out there in the sections. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a good arvo. Good luck with your coaching.
Leslie, it's Tracy. How are you?
Hey Trace, how you going?
Good. Just a quick one. What time's Darren speaking tomorrow?
From 12:30.
From 12:30, so he could probably jump in just for his part.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Cheers. Thank you.
No
See you.
worries. Okay, thanks. Have a good day.
Bye.